In a city where anything can happen, in a time of tradition, there were three filmmakers with nothing in common. They thought they had it all figured out. They don't just follow the movies, they make them. Alexander Pavlak, Mario Silvas, and Jamal Alexander are the makers on film.
All right then, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting episode of Jamal. What's the name of this thing?
Makers on Film.
There we go, and this is the perfect introduction to our resident actor and brown man number 2, Jamal Alexander.
I prefer to think of myself as Tan Man number 1.
Well, if you were not to tan, not to go outside anymore, would your color fade?
Slightly, yes. But it's Arizona summer right now, so everybody's a little bit darker than they should be.
True.
Yeah. Dude, what is your natural, skin color if you weren't to go in the sun?
Not much off from what you saw when we were filming Cliché.
Damn, dude, that's still pretty dark, though.
Yeah, that's still brown.
Dude, no, that's like a solid mocha going on for you.
Coffee and cream.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Then again, who doesn't get lighter by staying out of the sun for a while, though?
Oh, no, that's true, but your pigment is definitely, darker than Alex, even if he is in the sun.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Well, that's true of most of the population, though. Not a lot of people are as white as Alex.
Dude, seriously. No. I was on location. I was shooting this weekend. Is it cool if I plug another show? Oh, fuck it, I'm going to plug another show.
Yeah.
It's a web series I've been working on. I've been working with them for about a year, off and on, for about a year now. It's a show called Fuck, I Love You. It's a web series. It's actually really fucking good, too. And I'm not just saying that because I work on it and I like the people I work with. No, I get the scripts, I read them, because it's my job, and really fucking good. Alex, I'll send you a link to them, too. Well, let me talk to the director first, see if I can send you a link, and then I'll send you a link.
Okay.
Really cool people, fucking solid storyline. They've been working on it for 2 years pre-production alone, and then have been shooting for the past 3 years. Because, we shoot 3 or 4 days, and then we're on break for 5 months. And then on and on and on. So I've been shooting with them for about a year and a half now.
Wow.
Super cool people, too. So anyway, I was shooting with them, and we were out in Griffith Park, which is just south of Hollywood Boulevard. And while we're out there, we're there from 10 a.m. to about 3, maybe 4 p.m. And one of our girls, who is just bone fucking white, we get to our second location that day, and she's like, "Oh, how's my back?" And she turns around, and it looked like a cherry. The skin that was exposed looked like a cherry.
Yeah, it's that lobster red that you get.
Yeah, and it was I was standing next to her with the AC on, and I could still feel her heat radiating on me. Jesus Christ, this poor girl.
That happened to me the first time I went to LA. By the way, since Mario kind of just lost interest in the introductions, I'm Alexander, resident director and writer.
Oh yeah, I was doing that, wasn't I?
You were. So the first time I went to LA, which is back in '94, it was a friend of mine and I. We did a tour around the country for 6 weeks, and we go to LA, and we're from Ohio, so we're not used to constant sunshine, or nice weather for more than a couple of days straight. So, we go there, we go to San Francisco first, and then we make our way down to the Los Angeles area. And when we're in LA, of course, you got to hit the beach. And not thinking of it, we go out to the beach, no suntan lotion, throw down some towels, lay down on the beach, fall asleep. We probably nap for about an hour, flip over, and then fall asleep again and nap for another hour. And we got off the beach, we went home, we were fine, but oh my God, the next day, it hurt when the wind touched us.
See, and the best part is being being darker, never have to deal with that.
No, and then
Right?
you
Right?
get that bright red that's almost luminescent that you glow in the dark like a fucking
Uh-huh.
lightsaber.
You see that one dude in the corner, you're like, oh, he got too much sun, didn't he?
Hmm
Mm. Oof.
So when you go
I,
to a movie theater and people turn around to tell you to shut off the cell phone, they're like, "Oh, sorry, man, you got too much
I,
sun."
I have a coworker who is coincidentally named Alex as well, and is just about as white as our Alex here is. He had to go outside the other day for like a full 8 hours without knowing it, so he didn't pack any sunblock or anything. Came back in, was just like apple red at that point. And it
Ugh.
just looks painful when like somebody's burned like that. I mean, just the sight of it looks just absolutely like torturous.
It is, and the downside is that every time you get like a real bad sunburn like that, it actually raises your chances of getting like skin cancer, like by like 2%, I think, or 5%, something like that.
Mm.
It's crazy, but yeah, it's like every time I get sunburn like that, I'm checking my body to make sure I didn't get another mole or anything.
Jesus. Dude, why don't you just walk out? Like, you need like a tub of fucking sunscreen and just dip yourself in.
It's called paint, and yeah, sure, I'll just go and get some peach colored paint, dip
I don't
myself
see
in it every morning.
I don't see how it can end badly.
Oh no, not at all.
Actually, that brings up a good point. Like you bring up like a tub of something. It's very important to anybody listening at home. If you ever find yourself in that situation where you're like really badly burned, I know you feel like jumping directly into a hot shower or a pool. Please don't. You'll kill yourself.
Oh, so I was given the weirdest fucking information the other day. I was at work and this guy's like, uh, fucking, I burned myself on a goddamn pizza rack thing, which
Yeah.
fucking pissed me off. And the guy's like, "Oh, go run the burn under hot water."
Oh yeah,
I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, run it under hot water. It'll help it heal." I was like, "I have never heard like I do cold water. I've
yeah.
never heard about hot water though."
From Ohio. If you get really, really cold or even frostbite, the last thing you want to do is like if you get frostbite on your hands, the last thing you want to do is run your hands under hot water because you're so cold that the hot water is going to be almost to the point of scalding. So what you want to do
Right.
is run your hands under cold water, and it's the same thing. I mean, you don't want it to be like super hot tap water. You want it to be kind of warm, but because your skin is is warmed up to begin with, you don't want to do a huge shock to the system by hitting it under cold water.
Huh.
Yeah, that shock to the system stuff is really dangerous. I knew this back when I was a kid. I knew this lady who went out on a fishing trip, was on in the scorching sun all day under the on a boat, just getting to her location. As soon as they got near the closest beach, she jumped in the water to cool off and had a stroke.
Yeah.
Jesus.
That is how dangerous it can be when you're like you're a certain temperature and you rapidly try to change it to another temperature.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in Arizona, that's I was raised. If you go there and you're super hot, don't drink cold water. Never really understood why, but now I do as an adult. But it's like, holy shit! I never realized like
Yeah.
you could die from like drinking a glass of water or like just jumping in the pool,
Yeah,
kind of thing.
it seems counterintuitive, but yeah. But
Yeah.
okay, for the sake of all the hypochondriacs who may be listening to the show, let's go ahead and move on from things that could happen to you.
Yeah.
So, Mara, you're actually kind of cool about that '70s show guy. Why don't you go ahead and tell us about that?
Oh yeah. So apparently this has been out for a while. I just found it 'cause, I'm not too into the whole technology thing apparently.
Apparently.
However, Topher Grace, the guy that played Eric Foreman in that '70s show, um, cut together the Star Wars prequels into an 85-minute film, um, which Peter Cetera of Slash Films said it was probably the best possible edit the Star Wars prequels could have been given. And I've been reading reviews on it, and everybody's saying it was that good. Like I've never seen a single, um, I haven't seen a single review of someone saying like, "Oh, it was shit," or the guy was doing this because he wanted it to be like that. Like everybody is saying it was a damn good edit.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, so I'm seriously gonna have to check it out. Oh, and by the way, Jamal,
Yeah.
I watched Kung Fury the other day.
Oh, what'd you
Fucking
think?
Christ, I loved it. It made me laugh so goddamn hard.
Oh, fucking epic, wasn't it? Every
Fucking
trope from the
Christ.
80s. They hit every trope from the
Oh, it
80s.
really was. Alex, have you seen it yet?
I haven't taken the time to watch it yet.
Oh my god, dude, you're gonna love it. There's so many Nazis in it.
That is
Eat
I
me.
I'm telling you, that is a topic for an episode of this show. You have to see that now.
I will watch it for next week. Okay. So other things in the news. E.L. James, the writer of 50 Shades of Grey, which, if you don't know about 50 Shades of Grey, it started out as Twilight fan fiction, and then she ended up just changing the names, selling it to a publisher, and they published it. And her book, 50 Shades of Grey, I don't know if it's the book itself or if it's the trilogy, but it sold over 100 million copies. So it's a pretty successful book. They turned it into a movie by the same name. So E.L. James was doing an interview where she was inviting people to come on the Twitter and throw out questions to her, and she was going to answer them. Well, a lot of people, even though her book and her movie are quite successful and quite popular, don't like her and don't think that the message that are in the book and the movie are all that positive. So they did not. A lot of people who aren't fans took the opportunity to voice some of their complaints about her book and her movie. And I've written down some of the ones that I've liked. If you guys want me, I can read through them real quick. And you can kind of give me your impressions on these and whether they're cruel or if it's satire, if it's a well-deserved jab because she's famous, or if this is just over the line.
Well, first off, I am gonna say that haters will hate regardless. It's just what people do. Fucking trolls. I mean, we've all done that.
Yeah. I mean, we've all been on both sides of that line. We've all have seen things that would just completely irritate us, so we have to voice it out. And then we've all done stuff, especially, any kind of artist will do something that eventually somebody won't like and we'll have to speak up about it. But
Yeah.
so,
And I will say that if you get to a certain level of celebrity, you probably have no business being on social media.
well, be that as it may, I mean, it obviously was a mistake, and whoever on her team came up with this idea should be either reprimanded or fired for it. But so the first one I have written down here, is your name really E.L. James, or is it Spanish for the James?
That was actually just kind of
That one's a good one.
just corny.
That one's funny.
It was corny.
Dude,
but
that's like legit dad joke status.
Yeah. And then
I will take that. I will take that.
going
I'll give him that one.
going along with that, why are you pretending to be a Spanish rapper?
I am El James.
How do I get paid to write bad fan fiction? Which I thought was kind of a legitimate question there, but
I haven't read the series at all, so I have no right to actually judge. But what I have been told of the, and when I say the series, I mean like
the
50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah.
Yeah, not only that, and Twilight, and from what I'm told, they're both just fan fiction converted into actual like books. So
Well, I'm not too sure about the origins of the Twilight series, and I have never read the books. I'm not an avid reader, but I did see the movies for Twilight, and if you watch them, there's a lot of pausing that goes on, and it almost feels like nobody knows what their line is.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that if you were to edit out all those pauses, because some of them, are uncomfortably long, and for a movie that could be like 3 seconds, 4 seconds. You really notice that.
yeah,
Time is a very big commodity, and I think if you take all those out, you can probably remove 15 minutes from the movie runtime. I kid you not. So 50 Shades of Grey kind of runs that same way.
Oh wait, I will say though that I read a review once. Again, not having read any of the books, I have no right to judge. But I did read somebody else's review that says the difference between Harry Potter and the Twilight is J.K. Rowling is an actual author and knows how to use words, and whoever the hell wrote Twilight is just a fan fiction writer who found success.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with that.
Okay.
Growing up
I
as a kid, I mean, we've all read the Harry Potters at
I've read
least
I've read
once.
the Harry Potter. Yeah, she's actually a really talented
Yeah,
author.
it's a really good. I mean,
Well,
yes, it's the whole like wizard and shit like that, but I mean, it's a really fun book, regardless.
yeah, even the movies were done really well. And I know they cut a lot of them out
Well,
because the
cut
movies are Bible sized.
take
Yeah,
all of that, take that all of that out of it, and just take those books for what they are. For her skill as a writer, the way she crafts narrative and actually uses wordplay in those books. I mean, she's actually pretty good at that. From what I understand, Stephanie Meyer is an amateur who just because I just googled her name. Stephanie Meyer is an amateur who just kind of found her way in, just kind of like hit gold with the concept.
We just kind of lucked into it.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
Perfect place, perfect time.
yeah.
It's one of those things.
So for this next one, I will tell you, just in case you don't know, that 50 Shades of Grey is about BDSM. So the next comment is there a safe word we can use to get you to stop writing such drivel?
That's funny.
How
This is starting to sound like celebrities read mean tweets.
kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
How proud are you that you managed to outdo Twilight as a horrible example to girls?
That's a legit. I'll give her that.
I I don't understand. Is the actual relationship abusive?
In From what I've seen of the movie, and I haven't seen the whole movie, and I haven't read the books, but what I've seen of the movie, what I hear a lot of people talk about, um, E.L. James did no research into the BDSM lifestyle. She just wrote a book about a man kind of abusing a woman, both mentally and physically. Somehow thought it was romantic and put it out there. And it's from what I've seen of it, it's not anything to do with the lifestyle. It's it's just
I
horribly done and horribly thought out.
Yeah,
I
I was talking to Alex right. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. It was like a couple of minutes right before we got on. I was a friend of mine had actually. She sent me. She'd actually seen it. So when she was telling me everything, she's like, hey, she read the books and everything. She's like, oh yeah, it's pretty much a dude just pounding a chick the entire time.
Like
It's like,
with his hand, not with his penis.
well, both
Okay.
apparently, but it's like talk, talk, talk. Oh, what is this box of sex plugs? And then pound. Like that, just straight to vagina. That's all it is. And
Yeah,
apparently, that's the entire movie.
I haven't seen it.
well,
I hear the sex scenes are really hot, but again, I have no desire to see it
Yeah.
whatsoever.
I don't either. But from what I understand, and this is just from the trailer, it seems like the whole conflict of the whole conflict and drive of that movie and series ends in anal. And that's your denouement, that's your catharsis for it, which is just
Well, that's the thing. At some point in the movie, the woman, Anna, I think is her name, tells Gray, no, don't do that, and he continues to do it anyway. And in a BDSM relationship, you have that interplay where no means yes, but you do that with a safety word because part of the game is that you say no and I go on anyway. But when you pull out the safety word, that means that you're no longer playing around and we have to stop, and you respect that safety word because without the respect in that, then the whole relationship is lost.
Right, which
uh
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if someone's like, okay, go ahead and choke me, you're doing the whole deal, and the, fucking puppy, or, whatever the fuck the safety word is. Sorry, I just saw a puppy on the internet real quick, so I said that.
okay.
Literally, it's like 12 Labrador puppies, and they're eating right now. It's fucking cute. But, someone says puppy, and you're like, okay, I'm going to stop. Yeah, there's a mutualness about it. But if you just keep going with that, I mean, it's just abuse at that point in
Yeah.
time.
Well, there's a level of trust that you have to have there. Like in any relationship, there's a level of trust you have to have there, and without it, it's just a codependent relationship with an abusive person,
Right.
and that's really more of what 50 Shades of Grey seems like to me. But again, I didn't read it.
Well, no, what I was saying was just based on the trailer. You know how a Rocky builds up to like the fight,
Yeah,
like that last scene. It seemed, and that was the whole point of the fight, and things happen along the way. It seems like that except without anything along the way, and instead of a fight, it's
It's anal.
yeah,
So,
it's backdoor
so
business.
So what you're saying is that that's the climax of the movie.
That's what it seems like based on those trailers.
That's the climax. Okay,
so
yeah.
so are they gonna have like a scene of her like crab walking up the stairs trying to like loosen her butt up, and the very end is just like,
Yeah,
yeah, I did it, and then just hard cut to just penetration in the butt. Is that like what we're going for?
Yeah.
there's a training montage leading up to it. So it involves
using,
a lot of jelly.
using slightly larger implements.
Yeah.
And then, instead of him yelling out Adrian, he's yelling out anal.
Okay, so like instead of her like drinking eggs, she just has like robin's eggs and then like chicken eggs and like ostrich and keeps getting bigger, and she's not drinking it, she's just slowly shoving it up her butt.
Oh
Yes.
my god. Like
Yes.
there's just a series of like gradually like increasing size of vegetables. Like she starts out with a baby carrot at first and ends up with a full blown cucumber at the end.
I think we've just written a better movie in like 5 seconds.
Oh, so I was talking to some guys the other day. I was on set, and one of the girls, one of the PAs walked up to me, and she like pretended to grab my nose and then walked off. And I looked at her, I was like, I'll fucking cut you. And then, like, as I was saying that, I started laughing my ass off because I thought it'd be really funny if, like, you did that to adults now. You're like, oh, I got your nose, or oh, I got your ear, it's mine now. And that person flipped out like they would, like you were a 2-year-old kid. Like, no, give me my nose back. Give me my nose back. And, like, just like this little series of, like, people freaking out because, like, Alex has your nose or something like that.
You grab the nose and run off.
Hmm.
A huge foot chase ensues.
Yeah, like they're just freaking out because they're like, oh, all these little things that like as a kid would like flip. Like you see someone going up, like, oh look, I'm gonna remove my thumb, and they do the whole like thumb magic trick, and someone is just mind blown by that, and they're just freaking out. I just thought that'd be stupid and fucking hilarious.
That would be.
What's missing in alien movies and time travel movies. Like if
I
you
got
took
your
somebody
nose.
from no, like if you took somebody from the 1700s and placed them here, everything would be an adventure. Oh my god, the toilet actually swirls and stuff like that.
Oh, dude, do you watch Sleepy Hollow?
I do not know.
Okay, so there are some things about Sleepy Hollow I don't like, but one of the cool things is that Ichabod Crane is actually from Revolutionary War times, and he, through magic, is in contemporary times, and he's learning how to do things like operate a phone and drive a car, and it's great because when he sends text, he writes them as if they're a formal letter. He states, "My dearest whoever," he does the body of the letter, and he says, "My
That's
sincerest,
fucking hilarious.
my
That's
sincerest
actually pretty
regards."
cool. I like that.
It was a wonderful touch, and like it's a female police officer that he's teamed up with. It's kind of a buddy cop show, but she hands him a gun and he shoots off one shot and then throws it away and then runs, and she's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Well, it's out of ammunition." She's like, "No, it holds 10 rounds." So
It was just his like acclamation to all of this.
yeah, that was like in the first couple of the first season, and now the second season he's a little better at this. He's actually starting to do stuff that's a little outside of his character. He should still be kind of fumbling around with the whole thing, but you know, the human mind, I guess, is incredible at adapting to whatever surrounding it has to adapt to, which also is kind of cool. So, all right,
Really funny.
let's move away from E.L. James and her questionable ability to write, and
We wrote a better movie.
yeah. So anyway, you got any news, Jamal? Before we go into our main topic,
Yesterday was a great week in America.
a great week in America. Why is that?
And why is that, buddy?
Because on was it the 26th? Everybody in this country just made a step a little bit further toward being equal.
Oh, because of the whole gay marriage thing.
Yeah.
I am I am glad that they finally took it upon themselves to take it to the Supreme Court and have them decide and make it a national thing instead of making each state responsible for it.
Yeah.
Because you
So,
could be legal in one state and illegal in another just for loving a person, and that's wrong.
well,
Actually, was it no Alabama? They actually are refusing to give out marriage licenses to anybody, gay or straight, and this is in protest. So even though it's federal law saying that, the whole gay marriage thing is legal, which I think is stupid, it was illegal in the first place.
Yeah.
Love is
yep.
love. Love is love. Maybe that's just me.
Did you guys see the hashtag Love Wins?
No.
No, I didn't.
I thought that was pretty cool. I thought it was a good slogan for them.
Can we fucking stop hashtagging? It's called it's
No.
called the goddamn pound sign.
No, I hate technology too. I'm with Mario here. I never understood that.
It's the march of time, and nothing that used to be will ever be again. You can never go home, and you
I
just have to learn to ride the rapid that is the runaway river of progress. But on the upside, you get stuff like equal rights for everybody, but on the downside, you get hashtag equal rights for everybody.
you guys really you should look up like there's this place I go to, the rightwingwatch.org. Some of the things that like the opposition said afterwards, it's just like mind-boggling. Like, and it like the streets will be paved in blood, murder of the masses, just some of the most insane things. And
Yeah.
it is really, really sad to think that there are people out there that really truly believe all of that.
Okay, so there was a preacher in, I want to say Alabama, if I remember correctly, but he was saying, like some crazy Twitter post. I don't know if this was like someone trolling or not, but it was like some crazy Twitter posts. And one of them that made me laugh so goddamn hard was, um, basically he was comparing, yeah, you're right, it was 926. He was saying,
Awesome.
yeah, it was like 926 or 626. I'm sorry, not
626,
926.
yeah.
Yeah, my bad. He was saying like 626 is this generation's 9/11, and
Yeah, that
fucking.
I read that. I read
Did
that.
you
That
see
is,
that? That
yeah.
fucking blew my mind. This dickhole is saying all these things. I'm like, dude, like they blew up two of our like main infrastructure buildings in New York, and
Killed thousands.
killed thousands of people and damaged so much more. And you're saying that's comparable to people being able to marry each other, because that's all this really turns down to. Because honestly, if it came down to it, I was listening to the comedian Patton Oswalt. I'm not too sure if you guys know. You guys know Patton Oswalt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, he had a good point. He was saying this was when like the whole gay marriage thing was coming around, and he was saying, it's a legitimate argument if you were to say, two men loving each other, putting their penises in wherever they see fit, or two women rubbing their vaginas together, disgusts me and makes me feel uncomfortable. Perfect. That's a great argument. But if you just say, because the Bible said so, I mean, that's where it starts to get into iffy land right there. And that's where this whole issue was at that point, and still is at this point in time. Fucking Alabama and the Bible Belt. 926, the new 9/11, or 626. I'm sorry. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
I love Jon Stewart's response to it. Like, Trump came out as going for the presidency in 2016.
Right.
And a question posed to him was, what do you feel about the sanctity of marriage and traditional, keyword, traditional marriage? He says, I'm all for traditional marriage. And then the interviewer looks at him, so what's so traditional about being married 3 different times?
Jesus
Nice.
Christ.
That was brilliant. And for me, this argument ends with very simple like reasoning. If you can deny any other human being or any other American any right for any reason, what's to stop anybody from denying you anything for any reason?
True.
Yeah.
And whenever it comes to like talk about religion or whatever being involved in government, like you were saying, oh, the Bible says it's against it's against the Bible or it's against religion to be homosexual, even though the Bible doesn't say that.
Yeah.
I just like to remind everybody that Thomas Jefferson, the guy who wrote the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, went through and edited the Bible and cut it down to about a quarter of its original size, and that's the Jefferson Bible.
No fucking way.
And that's what he thought about religion, and what a lot of the founding fathers thought about religion. That 3/4 of it is completely useless.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
Progressive thought. That's the way to go. That was Theodore Roosevelt's kind of view of the world, and he was a futurist, and he's one of our best presidents. I actually got into a really long conversation with some friends about like the best presidents this country's ever had. Where do you think Obama ranks right now on the list? Like if you had to give him out of 43, where do you think he ranks?
Well, he's 44, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
it'd be
44.
out of 44. They actually did this a couple years back, and I know he ranked well above Bush Jr.
Fucking shocking.
But
Yeah.
he's not that high up on the list. I think he's in maybe the mid 30s, like 35, 38, somewhere in there.
From descending from ascending order, I think from like number one to the best to worst. The one I'm getting the most is that he's in the late teens. I got 18 a lot from just searching on the internet.
See, as far as contemporary presidents go, I think that that Reagan was really good, mostly because he didn't take any shit. He was a Republican who didn't really have a war underneath his belt, and everybody was still kind of afraid of him. And even though the trickle down theory was very pandering to the rich, it did kind of work and brought our economy up from where it was. And
He did kill the unions.
He did kill the unions, and that was very sad, but he did a lot of good things. And then the other really good president we had, contemporarily speaking, is Bill Clinton, who
I think he's the best.
he gave us our lowest people on welfare. He gave us our lowest percentage of people who were jobless, and he gave us the highest surplus of money that we've had in almost 40 years.
Yep.
And then
Yeah,
Bush came by and spent it all and increased our deficit to one of the worst that we've had in the American history.
Yeah.
So
I find it fascinating.
It's still increasing at this point in time too, from Bush.
Yeah.
No, I find it just fascinating that we talk about this deficit and it's growing and it's growing and it's growing, and deficits happen because you spend more than you actually collect in taxes. I find it fascinating that nobody's actually giving serious, kind of thought and dialogue to the idea of actually just raising taxes. It is political suicide, career suicide for any politician to actually suggest that we raise taxes any amount. But I think as a society and as the American society, one that's as advanced as we are, why aren't we having that conversation?
Because the American people don't want to hear that, because the average worker feels they give too much to taxes to begin with, and rich people find ways to get out of taxes. It's called a tax shelter. You have a business that fails, so you don't have to pay taxes, or you get all that money back that you put into it. You give to charity, so that's money you get back from your taxes. So the people who actually pay the taxes are the middle class, and they feel that they pay too much. Now, if you look at other countries, throughout the course of my day when I'm working, especially when school's in session, I will ferry around a lot of foreigners, and I ferried around this woman from the Netherlands, I think she was, and I asked her what she thought of America. And the thing she couldn't believe, but then again, she was in the academic lifestyle, was that we did not have universal or social schooling, that we had to pay to go to school instead of having free schooling. And she didn't even care that we didn't have socialized medicine. She cared about socialized schooling, which I thought was very interesting. But apparently in other countries they pay 50% in taxes, but on the other hand, everything is free medical, free education, free social services. So maybe that's the way to go, is that if we give the people more in services, we can collect more in taxes.
Well, that means spending more, though. So it's kind of evening itself out. I I personally I wouldn't give serious consideration to paying more taxes. And it's not like I make a ton of money, but if I thought that if we raised our taxes, it would cut that deficit and stop passing the buck down to the people that come before us. And trust me, this may come, sooner than later. Our old age might be very miserable. There's
My age is miserable now.
our golden years will not be so golden. There's a good chance that's going to happen. Um, but we're practical, rational people. We're adults. I just don't see that conversation being had, whether you agree with it or not. Who's talking about it, really?
Well, again, it's anybody who ever brings up, taxes. Every politician says no new taxes, and then, they realize that they can't do that, and they raise taxes, and then they get burnt on that come re-election. So, but like I said, nobody wants to actually pay more because they're not getting anything out of it. And if we had free services, and it's a circular thing. You pay more in taxes, but you get more. So more jobs are created because more people have to delegate those social networks. And then everybody, then the thing is that it's the Republicans who say, "Oh, this is leading into socialism." But if you look at other countries who have a capitalistic mentality, they do more social services. If you look at Australia, they have big constraints on gun ownership. If you look at Europe, they have more social services. Even though like England is not a social country, Germany is not a social country, but they have more social services for their people.
Well, yeah, no society in history has ever been 100% one thing. No society is 100% capitalist.
Yeah,
There are shades of socialism in there.
yeah.
No country. I'm sure that China isn't 100% communist, or Russia. I mean, there's private businesses going up there all the time. That's capitalism. That's free trade. That's commerce. You can, the idea that a single form of governance or economic system could rule an entire nation isn't true. It's not feasible. It's not possible.
No, it's not. But really, who I want to hear from is Mario's cats. Mario, what do your cats think of socialism
Yes.
in modern society?
Honestly, my cats are assholes, and honestly, I haven't been home in the past like week anyway, so I don't know anything about my cats.
Okay. Well,
I was
speaking of,
I was on a shoot twice this week, and then location scouting for a good chunk of the rest. So really haven't been home all too well this month.
okay,
Week.
okay. Well, speaking of assholes, this moves well into our topic at hand. This week,
You did not just call him an asshole.
I,
I'm
I, I actually have proof about that, but I'll get into that a little bit later. The Terminator films, the first two Terminator films, Terminator 1 and Terminator 2. Now, for this project, I actually went a little further and watched Terminator 3 Rise of the Machine, which you can actually find free on YouTube, which shows you how much nobody cares about that film.
Ouch.
Do you know
And
how many times I watched both those movies leading up to this? Sorry to interrupt. None. None this week in the week between. You know why? Because they're my favorite movies, and I've probably seen both of them. Like, realistically, both of them I've probably seen more than. It's in the double digits.
yeah, well, Terminator 2 Judgment Day is one of my favorite films,
Yeah.
and I will still go ahead and say that John Connor's an asshole, but I'll go into that in a second. But
Okay.
Yeah.
I also watched the episode of Outer Limits that Terminator was quote unquote based on. Harlan Ellison, who wrote the episode Soldier for the Outer Limits, and if you haven't seen that, you can also find that on YouTube. He sued the production company that was making Terminator, and they settled out of court, and they gave him a sum of money, and they put credit in the movie. So right after the movie's over, the first thing you see is we acknowledge the works of Harlan Ellison. They don't say that it's based on his works. They just say they acknowledge his works. So you can watch it if you want. The story is basically two soldiers that are 1,800 years in the future are fighting, and then they get sucked back through time, and then they fight in 1956, I think the year is. And one of the soldiers meets a guy, and the guy tries to befriend him, and the whole thing goes tits up. But I did a little more research into this, but Who was the one
Again,
who suggested this? Was it you, Jamal, or was it Mario?
it was Mario.
Yo,
Okay. So did you want to go
When
ahead?
you suggested it, I felt the pang of relief. Like I didn't have to make time this week to actually see either movie because I've seen them so much. I almost have them the dialogue memorized. Go ahead.
Well, I did rewatch them, and just because they are some of my favorite films, like we have discussed films before that I've seen before but haven't
Yeah,
refreshed and then talked about.
yeah.
So some of the discussion that I do is kind of like, yeah, I agree with Mario because of all the things he said. And I'm like, so, but these ones I did watch. I actually watched Terminator 2 yesterday and then Terminator today. So I watched them a little out of order. And I will say that this was the first time since probably I saw it in the theaters that I've seen the theatrical release of Terminator 2 Judgment Day. And I gotta say, I don't like it as much. And it's all basically the ending. Um, uh, in the end of the director's cut, you see the T1000 breaking down more and losing his cohesion, and you don't get that so much in the theatrical release. All he does is there's this little wave of silver that runs through his body, and that's all you see, and that's supposed to be him breaking down. And I didn't get that the first time I saw it, and I didn't get it this last time I saw it either. But I think the director's cut for Terminator 2 is way better, and I would recommend that to anybody.
I didn't actually see the director's cut of it.
Oh,
So.
it's there's a couple of things that are different. Like after John Connor and the Terminator talk to John Connor's step parents, they do the fake out. They call the dog by a different name to know that
Hmm.
it's the Terminator. And then the Terminator actually goes into the yard, kills the dog, rips off the tag, and sees what the dog's true name is, and knows that he's been bamboozled.
Huh.
There's the whole thing at the end where he touches a railing that's black and yellow striped, and he gets caught up on the railing, and he looks down, and the striping goes into his hand and into his arm. When he's walking around on the diamond plate, his shoes start to puddle out a little bit, and they form the diamond plating. And then when he's Sarah Connor at the end trying to draw John out to kill him, the way John knows which one is the real Sarah Connor is because he looks down and he sees the T1000 shoes and they're becoming the grating and kind of pooling over. So the special effects a little bit better, and that I think that's a more of a sign of relief because you spend almost 110 minutes being chased by this thing that's unstoppable, and finally you do something to it and it starts to break down. So now there is some hope that this thing can be destroyed.
Yeah.
And I think that is said better in the director's cut than it is in the theatrical release.
Mm.
But go ahead and talk about it, Mario, since you suggested it.
So they're movies that you can watch. Um, I don't know. What do you want me to really say? I mean, fucking.
Well, why did you choose them? I mean,
So what it really came down to was Jamal. You asked me 3 episodes ago. I'm gonna say 3 episodes ago that you were curious if there was a sequel that was as good, if not better, than the original.
Yeah, that's probably 2 episodes again. But
Okay, two. Okay.
my question was, can you make? You cannot make a bad movie or a bad movie better with crappier sequels, but can you make a good movie or a bad movie better with a good sequel?
Right.
Something like that.
Something like that. Right. Right. So my first thought was Terminator because I loved the first Terminator. It's
Yeah.
a great movie. It's the quintessential like sci-fi 80s movie with even down to the fucking music. Like it's all
Dun,
just
dun, 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 dun.
yeah, and not only that, but like the chase scenes are all like synth drums and like synth guitar and everything. So
Oh yeah, yeah,
it is
yeah.
very
yeah,
80s in that, yeah.
it's exactly what you'd think of when you think of the 80s.
It's actually a good mix of the hero's journey and a revenge story too.
Right. And not only that, but I mean it's action packed as well.
Hmm.
It's it's characters who are very believable and not so far out of the realm of this fantasy world that we try to create for movies. They set up this world and exactly what it was. Evil robot, let's say, coming back to kill. Sarah Connor, because her son is the liberator, essentially, of the humans.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we've set up that world. Now we're just going through the the storyline of it, and that was the Terminator, I should say. 1984. Fucking, we all know the Governor was in it. Um, who apparently, I was reading a little trivia thing. He said like only 20 words in the entire film. Like hardly ever said anything in that.
Didn't need to.
Yeah, exactly.
No, his presence on screen was enough that he didn't need to say anything.
Props to Cameron for like actually noted. Clearly, you were never going to give him a lot of lines because of his accent and all that. But props to Cameron for realizing what Arnold Schwarzenegger's strong suits were in both movies. And
Yeah.
Well, you do realize that Cameron actually wanted Schwarzenegger to be Kyle Reese at first, right?
yeah, at first.
Yeah.
And then I guess after meeting and actually working together for a little bit, or at least discussing the movie for a little bit, he realized where Schwarzenegger's like real sort of his charm as an actor. Basically, he has two things working for him. One is just his screen presence, whether it's just his physique or his look or whatever. The other is that they really capitalized on the second one was his humor, and there's a little charm to the Governor.
Well, Schwarzenegger wanted to play the Terminator because he thought it was the more compelling character, and especially since he had few words and everything he had to do through his physical being instead of talking about it. So he was actually kind of right in that situation. And in the second one, when he got the script, Cameron wanted to make the Terminator good and make the Terminator not kill anybody, and Schwarzenegger actually kind of had some reservations about that. He thought, and this kind of adds to his acting ability, that Schwarzenegger thought that being a good guy in the second movie was going to detract from the performance he gave in the first one.
Right.
And they came up together with John Connor forcing the Terminator to promise not to kill anybody. That it was his programming instead of him being a good guy.
It's by that point he'd done let's see, Red Heat, he'd done Kindergarten Cop, he'd done other things that kind of clued you into because Schwarzenegger doesn't do like intense, gravitas type stuff. He's
Right.
Wait, fucking Kindergarten Cop came out before this one?
The second one. Before the
Oh,
second
the
one.
second. Okay, I'm sorry. I was like,
Yeah.
whoa, this was 84, dude. Kindergarten Cop came out in like 86 or something. Or no, it was like
90.
Yeah.
90?
Was it 90?
Something
I
like
think
that.
90.
It's somewhere between 80, 89, and 91, somewhere in that time.
Oh shit, son of a bitch.
okay.
It was 1990.
No, there you go.
And he done Twins too, I believe, right before that.
Yeah,
Probably.
So you kind of started to get a sense of who Schwarzenegger, what his persona is. He's kind of this big funny jock, and he has a way of delivering lines and a way of just holding himself. That's, I don't know why, but you'll pay money to see it on screen.
Right.
And I think Cameron was paying close to, probably went through a little marathon of movies with Schwarzenegger before doing Terminator 2, and said, there's something to be put into this movie.
Right.
And that's where I think the motivation came to kind of like pair him up with the kid and make it into a kind of a buddy journey to some extent. It's not real a buddy movie, but to some extent.
Well, do you know who the first two choices for the Terminator were for Cameron?
I know of one of them. It was he was in a television show on Continuum, or was it Millennium on
Millennium?
Fox?
Yes.
He was on Millennium on Fox, and he was actually in Terminator 1. It was Lance Henriksen.
Lance Henriksen, yeah, he was the white cop.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, they wanted him because Cameron wanted the Terminator to be kind of an everyman kind of person, somebody who would be lost in a crowd. He didn't expect to have a 6'2", 300-pound bodybuilding Austrian as the Terminator. He wanted a guy kind of like me, who would just, you see him 1 minute, next minute he's gone, just because he looks like everybody else.
Small, white, and pasty?
Yeah.
No. Here's the problem with getting Henriksen to do it. and I think would have happened with Henriksen. Henriksen does gravitas, man. He does like really weird, eccentric, kind of like out there type characters. Had they given the Terminator to him instead of making it the quiet guy like Schwarzenegger, you'd have lost that intimidation and all of that, and you would have had these really weird sort of semi-human, out there, killing machines.
Yeah, but that's kind of what they did in Terminator 2, using Robert Patrick as the T-1000.
Yeah.
Is that he was still intimidating because he was quiet and he kind of looked down at you, but he also was able to smile and be personable. So
With Henriksen, I think you would have gotten something more akin to a walk-in. Whereas when you got Robert Patrick to do that, I thought he had the actual like perfect sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Fake personality.
Yeah,
Like
he definitely had that like robotic feel to him,
yeah,
but at the same time, he, just as Alex was saying, he could blend into a crowd and you would never notice.
no, it's the genuine, the moments where he's trying to portray like human, like he was trying to portray like an
Yes,
everyman,
yeah.
like you'd have a conversation with. There was still that little air of like this is put on.
Yeah.
He turned on a button in there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you weren't really like, if you were in there briefly to say hi and bye, if you were to see him, you would just, oh, okay, he's just a cop. Like he looked, I don't know how to say it, but like he looked like a cop.
Yeah, he looked like the every guy.
Yeah, he looked like the average Joe cop, protect and serve kind of thing.
Yeah, and when he was being when he was being humanesque, he was never eccentric.
Yeah. And he exactly like you're saying, he fit that human bill. But then when he went to like a T-1000 status, just fucking, he was the floor. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. Like, he was just creepy and just...
He would have done anything to kill John Connor, basically.
See, and had you had put Henriksen in that role, and the way Henriksen plays his characters, because watch any Henriksen film, or Henriksen in any film, you'd have gotten a little bit sideways with that. There have been quirks to him.
Yeah.
And you would have lost... because Robert Patrick is, if you're a modern actor and you were asked to do a Terminator, I suggest watching Robert Patrick instead of Schwarzenegger. That's my advice to you, because Schwarzenegger kind of has his Terminator is defined by his presence, and you do not have Schwarzenegger's presence. Robert Patrick is an actor portraying a Terminator, and that's probably the way you want to go.
The other guy that was in serious consideration to be the Terminator in the 1984 classic The Terminator, O.J. Simpson.
Get the hell out of here.
Nope. They were seriously considering him for kind of the same reasons why they wanted Schwarzenegger, because they were starting to think maybe a larger, more imposing figure will convey to the audience what Kyle Reese feels every time he sees a Terminator. There's an intimidation factor there. And in light of, O.J. Simpson's history, there is more of an intimidation factor kind of now.
I have to say this, and it's going to sound really, really weird. Were it not, knowing full well what he did, or what everybody knows he did but got away with, had O.J. Simpson walked onto the set of The Terminator and tried to play the cold-hearted killer, nobody would have bought it. Not in 1984, they wouldn't.
Yeah.
Probably not. No, because he was doing the Naked Gun series at that time and doing comedies and such. He wasn't doing anything too serious.
Have you seen Black Dynamite? He was, and they kind of like just throw it out there and like say it. O.J. Simpson was everybody's favorite black guy back in 1984.
Yeah.
He was non-confrontational, non-intimidating, non-threatening. He was just he was the poster boy.
Yeah,
basically.
He was also a football player, and I'm sure he turned that on and off like a switch. I'm sure when he went onto the gridiron, he turned on the intimidation factor. And when you stared him down, I don't even know what position he played, but
he was a running back. And as an actual sports fan, I think the Juice, as they called him back in the day, was more suave than he was intimidating. And I think he spent more time talking trash than trying to stare people down.
Okay, well then I will go ahead and just cross that out of my notes.
Okay.
No, but I'm sure there was a bit of an intimidation factor when you went up against the Jews. I'm sure even though he talked trash and stuff, he had what it took to back that up on the playing field.
If you really wanted like an intimidating presence in 1984 from football to play the Terminator, you should have went and gotten Jim Brown.
Yeah, okay, I can see that.
Because O.J. Simpson was he is to the NFL what boy bands are to music.
Wow,
Back in 1984.
that is a comparison that is so on the money. That is so vivid of an image that you just created there.
Can that be the title of this week?
What?
Sure. O.J. Simpson is a boy band.
Yes.
Let me write that down.
By the way, for all you trolls out there, yes, I realized Jim Brown was an offensive player too, but Jim Brown was a linebacker playing running back. That man, or playing fullback. That man was a beast. Like literally, like something was wrong with him in the head. An absolute, like he was an absolute monster back in the day.
Fucking drugs does that to you.
Fuck, watch him play games, man. Like the guy runs through like 5 guys, falls on his head, like his whole body lifts up, and his entire weight is supported on his head and neck, and slides another 5 yards like that, and just gets right back up and gets back in the huddle.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
Okay. So, do you want to hear why I think John Connor's a dick?
We're going to hear about it regardless, so yeah.
Well, I don't like John Connor. I tend to, not the word asshole, I tend to think like a little prick or an annoying little prick, but let's hear your argument.
Okay. So there's this one scene in Terminator 2 Judgment Day, shortly after they call John Connor's step-parents. John Connor says, we got to go get Sarah, his mom. The Terminator grabs him, and then he starts yelling out, help, help, get this psycho off me. And then the Terminator lets him go. They talk for a little bit, and then these 2 jocks come by.
I remember the scene.
So he calls out for help.
They come over to help him.
Tells the 2 guys who come over
No.
rescue.
He lets him go, and then the guys come over and they go, hey, kid, you all right?
Yeah, no, I know the scene. They come over, and he tells them, I'm truncating it here.
Okay.
So they come over, and he tells them to fuck off. And then they call him a dipshit because he just cried wolf. And then John Connor sicks the Kilmotron 800 on these 2 guys. And then he gets all surprised when Killbot Joe tries to actually terminate these 2 guys who he just sicked them on. So yeah, John Connor's a bit of a dick.
First off, stop trying to give the Terminator Killbot names. Second off, yes, I remember that scene vividly. I thought the very same thing when the guys come over to try to help him.
Yeah, I think, yeah, it's just like, if that's the kind of person he is, and I understand he's a 10-year-old kid at this point, and despite how old he actually is or he looks, he's a 10-year-old kid because it's only been 10 years since the previous Terminator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do not like. I love the movie. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I do not like John Connor in that movie. He's a little prick. He's so annoying, so whiny, and then he does stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, I almost want him to get killed. Like at some point throughout that movie, like I was watching it one time and I went, does he need both arms to save the world at some point?
You kind of want to see the Terminator bitch slap him a little bit.
Yeah. Like, kind of just, while he's on the motorcycle with you, kind of just like lean to one side so his knee scrapes like off or something. Like he bugs me in that movie. But they don't completely redeem him, but the scenes he spends, especially out in the desert when they've driven to God, I forgot his name, the character's name, it's gonna bug me now. But they go out into the desert to meet a friend of Sarah Connor's who has weapons. I think they actually go down to Mexico to do this.
Enrique.
Yes, there you go. Was it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, when they're out there and they're sharing those moments, like, when he's teaching him about Hasta La Vista Baby and all of that, those were somewhat redeeming. Not completely.
His character never redeemed. He was still a bit of a dick even towards the end. The whole thing was really kind of a learning experience for him. It was supposed to snap him out of that phase, I think. Because kind of, he's been dicked around by the system. He's in a foster care. Now he gets his own killbot. And really, I guess anybody would be kind of a dick, but you're right. You watch him and you think this is really the best humanity has to offer. John Connor.
Stop giving them killer robot names.
Yeah, seriously, Alex, do you want to take a minute and think about what you actually want to call them? Because you can't do it on the fly.
Well, I have a couple written down here.
Well, fucking use the good ones then.
Well, we'll go on.
Anything's
No,
better than
legitimately, you need to come up with good ones if you're gonna say them.
nothing's worse than Killer Robot Joe or something he just
Yeah,
used.
seriously.
Killbot Joe? Why is that?
Whoa.
That's like that movie, Killer Joe. That's what I was going for.
Murder mech or cyber assassin, something.
Cyber Assassin's a long.
Yeah, that's a little
What about murder mech?
nah.
Eh.
I mean, you're going for cooler names. I'm going for more whimsical names.
Okay.
I'm going for what would be on the
No.
Terminator's life.
See what it is. No, see what the thing is. You guys are actually trying to come up with something. What you guys have to do is forget what the actual name is and describe their actual functions, like Stabby Bot or something like that.
See, Mario's got it.
No, you're thinking.
No. Hang on.
Come on.
Frankenstein 2000.
Murder Porsche, because that's basically what he is. He's a German killing machine. A German killing machine.
No, see, that's a lot of thought because you're like murder Porsche.
No, because I think
was he like a fucking Porsche that like only killed people and that he didn't drive?
Really think about
Isn't that a Stephen King novel?
He's a piece of finely tuned German engineering that kills things.
Mm.
The machines don't really have a nationality. They just are the machines.
Then why does this one sound Austrian?
Because remember in the movie he said that they destroyed all the records of the old human race, so they're like, humans sound
like
they
like yodeling or
yeah, and they're just
bratwurst.
Yeah, and they're like, they just go and they're like Unit 32, fucking genius. We're gonna go with that.
Like all their records of like human civilization is basic cable, and they have a copy of Hogan's Heroes. Make them sound like that.
Yeah, exactly. That's all they have going for them at the time.
Hey, we're lucky that the damn Killbot did not sound like Chekhov from Star Trek.
Oh God.
Comes with me if he wants to live.
He just says nuclear vessel over and over again.
I will destroy you with the nuclear vessels.
More about the movie.
Okay. So, would you agree that one of the themes of the movie is basically fate, fate versus freedom, fate versus free will, or fate versus Mario burping?
Fate wins that one, but we talking about number 2, right?
We're talking about both of them, really. But more, it's brought up more in the second one than it is in the first one. But Kyle Reese kind of does the whole fate is not set speech to Sarah Connor.
It's more in the second one, only because the only person that really has any knowledge of fate versus free will, or the fact that the first movie and everything that happens in it is fated, is John Connor. He sends Kyle Reese back without actually informing him of their relationship.
Right. Well, that's the thing that will bake your noodle is, do you tell him? And...
Whereas in the second one, they're very much aware of the future and are trying to preserve it.
Mm-hmm. So what side of the argument do you think the movie settles on? Is it fate or is it free will?
Fate. Because nothing... Well, it's hard for me to say that now because I've seen the entire franchise, and everything that was supposed to happen that was destined to happen in the first one still happens. The series continues after the second one where it should have ended. Well, not should have ended as in the movies got worse and they should have ended. That's another discussion. But no, they said it would have ended with the death, with the destruction of that particular Terminator. But it kept going. They didn't actually stop the post-apocalyptic future.
No, I mean, if you think about it, because I kind of did, John Connor can't exist without Kyle Reese coming back in time, which doesn't happen without Judgment Day, which doesn't happen without Miles Dyson creating Skynet, which doesn't happen without the microchip and arm from the end of the first movie, which doesn't happen if the Terminator doesn't come back through time, which doesn't happen unless John Connor exists. So theoretically, if the first Terminator killed Sarah Connor, the time loop in which John Connor and the Terminator and Skynet were born from would collapse and Judgment Day wouldn't actually happen.
Wait, repeat that last part again.
Okay, so if the Terminator from the first movie actually killed Sarah Connor,
Yeah.
that would collapse the time loop in which John Connor and Skynet are born from, which would essentially make Judgment Day not happen.
No. I get it. I get it now. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. If she dies in that film, in that first one,
Yeah.
everything sort of solves itself.
Yeah. Which is kind of weird when you think about it like that, because you root for these people to live so they can stop Judgment Day.
Hang on, I just thought of a counter argument.
Okay, go ahead.
Sarah Connor has nothing to do with Skynet. The Terminators would have existed anyway.
Right. However,
in the story that we go ahead, Mario. Go ahead.
No. Well, which is, yes, they have nothing to do with Skynet. But the thing is, the whole uprising of the humans was because of Connor.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So the robots are going to happen regardless, no matter what. I mean, have you guys seen the third one?
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. Okay.
Seen them all.
Okay, so you've seen it. I'm not too sure if Alex had or not.
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually said you can find a third one on YouTube, which shows you how regarded that film is.
But I didn't know if you had actually seen it.
I've seen it before, but I fell asleep watching it the other day.
Gotcha. So the robots happen.
Mm-hmm.
We're all aware of that. But because of Connor, they're the ones that are able to basically push back the rising of the robots, which is all it really is. So if they would have killed Connor, then that's it. Like the robots would win, actually, if there's not someone else who would have taken over John's ability to win.
Yeah.
Or ability to lead the humans.
Right.
But
that's the point of the whole first movie and the entire franchise. They sent him back to kill the one person that's keeping them from winning the battle in the future. In fact, by the way, it goes a little bit deeper than that. John Connor's presence actually informs how the Terminators look, because they're designed to fight a resistance of humans, and therefore they take the human appearance form.
Right.
So John Connor is kind of like this key. He's the Big Bang. He's the little particle that explodes to create the entire universe and everything in it. Like, everything is based around him, from the way the Terminators look, to the very reason they're in the past, to the reason why they continue to actually exist even after T2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The argument that the Judgment Day has nothing to do with the Connors, it's kind of a give and take. They have a very symbiotic relationship, because the way the story is written, what we get is that it's John Connor who fights the machines, and he can't fight the machines unless he exists. So they have to come back to try to kill him so he can send his dad. Which means that there is no iteration of 1984 where Kyle Reese doesn't exist. There is no clean timeline. He will always be there, and there will always be that loop, which means the Terminator will always come back. And because of that is what leads into Skynet and Judgment Day, at least in the first iteration. And if we stop at the end of T2, then that actually kind of proves my point. If we go into T3, then obviously that screws everything up. But it's because of the arm and the chip that gets crushed in that press. But there's also a leg there too, which they never picked up. So where did that go? But it's because of the machine that comes back after Sarah, is because is how Skynet becomes an entity. So it's a symbiotic relationship. One cannot exist without the other. If they never went back to kill John Connor, he would never exist. But then the machines would never exist because those parts would not be there for Miles Dyson to reverse engineer.
Wait, the argument that T2 has nothing to do with the Connors? I've never
No,
heard that before.
no, that you guys just said that the Judgment Day or the Rise of the Machines have nothing to do with the Connors. That would happen regardless.
Yeah, that would happen regardless.
But it happens because they go back in time to kill Sarah Connor, and the microprocessor gets left behind, and Miles Dyson's reverse engineers it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
So if it wasn't for them trying to kill her, then the Rise of the Machines wouldn't happen. So
well, my argument is this: what the traveling back does, because you see it in T3, they don't actually look like that. In fact, in both the other ones, they don't actually look like those Terminators. If anything, the parts that were left behind only inform the way that those Terminators look. They're really just machines. In every other movie you see,
it doesn't matter what they look like. It matters what powers them. It's the microprocessor and the level of technology used in the hand is what they're reverse engineering. This is what they're using to create Skynet, mostly the microchip. The hand is just kind of there to remind you where the microchip came from.
Hang on. This is kind of how I've got things in my head right now. Skynet would have happened anyway in the first one, right? He goes back, survives. The apocalypse is still coming. They don't know what exactly triggers this apocalypse. T2 happens, and you realize that it's because the arm was left. Skynet still existed, but the arm actually changed the timeline to some extent.
It really didn't, because if everything went according to plan, if they never interrupted Miles Dyson's work, it still would have happened in 1997.
Was it 97 or 94? I think it was 94.
No, the events of the movie happened in 94. Judgment Day happens in 97.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. In 1995, that's when the story's told.
94.
No, it says in 95, John Connor is 10 years old, living in Los Angeles.
Is it 95?
Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever. Well, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
If anything, because and this all the crew of all this is your theories on your own personal thoughts on time travel and how it actually affects whatever, how it affects the future,
how it affects the story. Yes.
Yeah, I feel as though the Skynet would have always have happened. That was part of the first movie. That was always going to happen. What the events of the first movie actually did was alter the future so that Terminator and everything you see about it, the way they're designed, the power sources, everything, it was altered by a Terminator being sent back. Like, for all we know, they could have ended up, the events could have been completely different. Skynet would have happened, and things would have just been completely different in the future, but they sent a Terminator back, and it altered the timeline.
Well, in the third one, is it called Skynet or is it called something different?
I thought it was still Skynet.
No, it was called something different, and then no, I'm trying to think. Did they rename itself Skynet at the end?
Because it was Cyberdyne Systems that created Skynet, and they blew that up in the second one. So in the third one, and I don't remember this because I didn't get to the end of it the other day, I believe it's a completely different company, or it was the government themselves who made it. I can't remember. But I don't remember if it was called Skynet or not at that time. I think it might have been.
CRS.
CRS was the company?
No, the United States Air Force purchased the company Cyberdyne, effectively nationalizing, and started in-house development of projects in its cyber research division. By the way, CRS to me means can't remember shit, which is what I suffer. After year,
yeah, that's why I can never remember a name.
Yeah, there you go. After years of no, they still call it a Skynet in the third one. So okay. It's all
Wait, when did it change from not being Skynet?
It was Cyberdyne at one point, or it was just called Cyberdyne.
It was Cyberdyne Systems that created Skynet in the first two movies, and the building they blow up in the second one is Cyberdyne. So in the third one, I guess the Air Force or the government purchases the research that Cyberdyne was doing and continues it. So they continued calling it Skynet.
I thought Skynet was present in the second one.
Skynet is the name of the program. Cyberdyne Systems is the name of the company that created it.
Right, that created it. I thought it was just referred to as Skynet in general, though.
Well, Skynet is the main computer, the main brain that's controlling the robot army.
Oh, I see. So I guess I just lumped in Cyberdyne and Skynet, the same thing. That's what it was.
Cyberdyne is basically Sarah Connor. It's the mother that gives birth to the warring entities.
The robots, John Connor.
Yes.
Names are not important. Basically, everybody that's ever seen the series has an idea of what Cyberdyne/Skynet is. It's the intelligence or AI that eventually launches the Terminator, the robot revolt, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he just said.
Yeah. Names aren't important.
How are they not important? It is.
No, they're the same thing, basically.
But anyway, continuing on with the conversation.
Go ahead.
Mario, do you want to chime in about time travel?
Fucking don't do it, or else, you'll have a house under the sea.
Dude, I've had this fucking argument, like, with my friends and I. We have this argument so fucking much about...
have friends.
I have two.
We don't count.
Damn it. No.
Yeah, we're not your friends.
Okay.
But let's not...
I was well aware of that.
Let's not gloss over this house under the sea thing. This actually sounds pretty interesting. Please, Mario, go on with that. How do I get a house under the sea?
Fucking go back in time, kill a goddamn T-Rex, and boom, house under the sea.
I want to live with SpongeBob SquarePants.
Fucking kill yourself.
Back to what I was... We've had this argument so many times about Back to the Future. Whereas my theory is every time you travel back, you create a new timeline. Every time you do time travel, you create a new timeline or an alternate universe. And that Terminator or that Back to the Future 3 makes absolutely no sense.
Back to the Future 3?
Which one is the one where he goes to the future?
That would be the second one.
No, the second one is the one that makes no sense because he goes to the future and meets himself.
Where he goes to the past. Well, yeah, he goes both to the past and the future.
He goes to his own future and meets himself.
Marty McFly.
But if you leave the timeline and skip to the future, you will have been missing in the time in between. So it's impossible to meet yourself in the future. And somebody argue with me that if it's already predetermined that you're going to go back, it means you will have always existed. But that doesn't happen until you actually go back. So while you're there, you've been missing, right?
That's working under the theory that time travels in a straight line. And for you, your straight line takes a detour around a lot of it. You can work under the theory that whatever happens, i.e., since Kyle Reese impregnates Sarah Connor and makes John Connor, one could theorize that if the war doesn't happen, then Kyle Reese may become, go into the Air Force, become an astronaut, and then volunteer to be the first person who actually travels backwards in time, ends up meeting Sarah Connor, falling in love with her, and fathering a child, and then going back to the future. So one could argue that there is no iteration of 1984 where Kyle Reese doesn't exist coming back from the future. Whether he comes back to save Sarah Connor from a robot uprising, or whether he's a pioneer who comes back because he's, part of a team that has created time travel, or if it's some sort of weird electrical storm that transports them back. That 1984 will not exist without Kyle Reese in it at some point. So
Okay. I think we're having two. You're keying. I had two separate things going there, but you're keying on the multiple universe thing, and that's personally what I think.
well, no, I'm just saying that, you could have a multiple universe. You could have,
Yeah.
where time is a straight line for you, or you could have time where it's a constant and that you just move around in it. Kind of
I,
like your living room. You're bound to go back to your living room eventually, so there's never going to be a time when your living room isn't occupied by you.
That was actually a really good burn. I'll give you that.
I what? I'm still focused on your actual logic. I did get the burn there.
There wasn't a burn. I'm not sure what Mario's talking about, but do you think in some way that the events in the Matrix is actually the future from the Terminator?
I'm sure people still make those connections. Uh no, I mean they're just so markedly different, I guess. Not just stylistically, but what does Skynet need humans for? I mean, they're actually determinedly trying to eradicate the species, whereas whatever the hell the machines in the Matrix franchise they were dependent on humans.
Kyle Reese talked about internment camps, and he actually had a tattoo, a barcode tattoo on his arm because he was in one, and he talked about the camps where they would either A, systematically destroy humans, or B, had some camps where humans were put to work, I assume as cheap labor making robots, which is supposed to be some sort of commentary on the modern manufacturing system where we have robots building cars or robots taking jobs away from humans. The future humans would be taking jobs away from robots.
Yeah, that is. By the way, I don't remember that line specifically, but it is a very weak plot point. What the hell do you need cheap labor from humans for if you're a machine and you can make another machine that just manufactures stuff?
Well,
But it's not the same. It's not the same thing though. Like Skynet isn't dependent on humans for
no,
survival.
no.
Whatever the hell those things in the Matrix, was there a name for those things?
The the machines, they just refer to them as
Yeah,
machine
I think
homes.
it was just machines.
I mean,
Okay.
they called the squiddies that because they look like squids, and then they called
Yeah.
the fields of humans is what they called the incubation chambers.
Okay. Yeah, they're actually dependent on humans for energy and resource or something.
Yeah, which is the worst form of energy ever, but that's a discussion for another time.
As we're talking about this, and I'm thinking back on the Matrix, I just talked myself out of my original argument. I see where it could be the same universe, because you do remember in the Matrix they make it a point to say at some point they don't remember who did it, but one of the two factions blotted out the sun.
Scorch the sky, yeah.
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 So if Skynet torched out the sky and needed energy, what would it go for? A human.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Could be. But what do you think would happen to the machines if they actually won the war? If they eradicated all humans?
Expansion.
Would they then become the Borg from Star Trek?
Yeah. Why stop at the one form of life that they found here, or intelligent life that they found here? And it is not in the nature of intelligence to stagnate.
Well, I mean,
Unless impaired,
th-
intelligence will grow.
there's only one real intelligence. There's Skynet in and of itself. It doesn't really allow its subordinates to think too much, and um,
Well, intelligence in general, I mean.
yeah. But and secondly, it's mostly what Skynet does is reactionary to the humans trying to pull the plug. It was done in self-defense, one could argue. And would it really want to explore? I mean, do you think it's thought that far through, or is it just kind of in a
Logically, you've been exposed to only one form of other, uh, uh, sentience and intelligence. That one form tried to kill you. If there was a possibility that other forms existed out there and may try to kill you, would you not make, would you not make preemptive efforts?
I don't know if that's a logical thing. I mean, if they don't know you exist, they're not going to come to try to attack you. If you do a preemptive strike, that could alert them of your existence, and also a small band of soldiers that has an opportunity to fail and let your presence be known. So is that the most logical course of action for a computer?
I think it would look, may not attack it, but it would definitely try to expand towards that, and at some observe, I guess, at some point would actually try to expand and kill more. Yes, I do think that it would become the Borg.
I mean, as far as the Borg go, to me, it always seemed a way of reproducing. Other Borg were more of an offspring to the original, and it was a way to expand its race. So, I mean, I guess the machines could look into it that way, as a way of procreating.
I just think intelligence doesn't stagnate. It doesn't, defend itself, survive, and then just stay there. It wants more. It wants to add.
So, being intelligent means you have
Learning.
a desire to conquer.
No, not a desire to conquer, a desire to learn. And this experience has ingrained prejudice in it against other sentients, I guess.
Okay. To me, that sounds like conquering, but
Yeah, no, it definitely is. Um, Again, conquering doesn't seem like a right word to put to what it's trying to do. I don't know.
what do you think, Mario? What are your views?
I've been trying to figure out, why would the robots need to destroy the humans, other than the fact that we are trying to destroy them back. So let's just say we all decided, hey, we're going to, just basically succumb to the robots. What else would the robots do? I mean, would they want to learn as much as possible, like Jamal was saying, or would they just be okay with just doing monotonous tasks, like almost like they were programmed to? Because for the most part, in the Terminators, they were essentially programmed to destroy humans. Well, once that need is gone, what else is there? Or do they have another basic need?
That's exactly what I was.
No,
Right.
my argument stems from Skynet being artificial intelligence. Essentially, all of the Terminators and Skynet are being one thing, is being one person, a very almost childlike person, a very basic person. What do children do? They explore, they learn. And this child just happened to be raised a little bit more violent, to be violent. And so a combination of those two things, it wanting to expand and having violent tendencies, yeah, it does turn it into kind of a conqueror.
Do you suppose Skynet is that computer from War Games?
This is gonna sound like this is blasphemy for a nerd. I haven't seen War Games.
Really? Dude, it's a really good movie.
Yeah.
I think it's on Netflix, isn't it?
Don't know. We'll look into that. But yeah, one of Matthew Broderick's better movies, I would say.
Yeah, it really was.
Like that, Ferris Bueller and the producers.
Completely off topic, but Matthew Broderick killed people once. Keep going.
Okay, no, you can't just throw that out there and then not continue on with the story.
It was a car accident, but yeah, he got hammered and was living the life of a young, rich star. For whatever reason, was visiting Ireland. Got behind this sports car. I'm young. I'm Ferris Bueller with him and his girlfriend, and just killed I think a mother and her daughter in a car accident.
Oh, didn't know that.
Were they gingers?
Probably.
Oh.
So because it didn't make the nightly news, so probably.
Oh, there you go. There is the movie that needs to be made. Instead of the Terminator, it's the Gingers.
The Gingers.
The rise of the redheads.
The sun! It's slightly singeing us.
Scorch it, and then kill everybody.
To go back to the two movies we were watching, they're not just they may be like Terminator films and they're part of the same franchise, a sequel to one or another. They're very much two different movies. They're two different genres of
Yes,
movies. They're
they
two
are.
different kinds of movies. The first movie, they're both sci-fi. Let's get that out there. They're both sci-fi films, but the first one was a horror flick. It was a thriller. It was straight up, this ungodly, unstoppable monster chasing down this defenseless woman and the guy trying to protect her. I mean, it was a complete, darker tone and everything. Whereas uh, Terminator 2 was a summer blockbuster. It was a buddy comedy slash action film. It was a straight up action film. The first one was not an action film. It gets labeled that because it had Schwarzenegger and because of its sequels. But it was a thriller more than anything else. It was not an action film. It had elements of it, but it was not. The second one was it. I point to that movie as having launched the '90s excess era. I love the '90s excess era, by the way. It's why I love film, where things were borderline campy. There was the humor, there was the CGI, and all of that. If look at your movies from the '80s to the '90s, and their sequels in the '90s, and you'll get what I mean. But yeah, they were very much two different kinds of films, two different tones. And did they change? Would they have changed a few things like names and a few key plot points in the second one? You wouldn't think they were the same film, or they were made by the same people.
Speaking of not being made by the same people, there is a movie called The Terminators, which
Yeah.
apparently has nothing to do with the James Cameron franchise.
Is it an asylum type deal?
Actually, it just so happens to be an asylum movie.
There you go.
Right.
And it takes place in space, and all the Terminators look like a German rock band. They're all in camouflage pants and black wife beaters.
Opinions on the different genres of the two films.
But going with those two films, see, I think the genres are not as far off as you claim them to be. Yes, the Terminator 2 was a much bigger movie, had a much bigger budget, had a much more polished look to it, but it's in some ways it's almost a reboot or a retelling of the exact same story. It's a machine that comes back from the future, tries to kill the leader of the human resistance. A savior is sent back along with them. And if you watch, and it was spoiled for me, and I'm so regretful that I could never watch the beginning of Terminator 2 Judgment Day not knowing anything about the movie. But the way the beginning of that movie is set up, you are led to believe, especially if you've seen the first Terminator, you are led to believe something that isn't true. And at that point where 3 of the 6 movies that are being told at this point come together, actually I think it's 5 movies, 3 of the 5 movies that come together at one point, you kind of get your first twist and your first mind blow. And everything up until that point is very much like the original Terminator. You have Arnold Schwarzenegger skulking around. You have this, personable guy trying to locate, one of the Connors, and you have the Connor just going about his day, not knowing the sort of Damocles, hovering above his head. So in that, it has the same tone and the same feel. It's just better production values. And I think that is what makes you see it more as a summer blockbuster than a movie in the same vein because of the better production values.
No, well, no, hang on. I don't see it in the same vein because again, the first one for me is a horror slash thriller. Where are the thriller elements or the horror elements in the second one? The Robert Patrick stuff?
Well,
Most people saw that stuff and went, "Look at that CGI." Nobody looked at it and went and thought of the scene in the first Terminator movie where he's repairing the eye or the arm.
well, in the director's cut, they have something like that. And again, that's one of the sad things about the studio version, is that there's this beautiful scene in the director's cut where they pull out the CPU from the Arnold Schwarzenegger Terminator, and they set it up to be a shot of the main character's Arnold Schwarzenegger sitting there. We see his back is to us. We see his reflection through a mirror, but it's not an actual mirror. It's a puppet that we see the back of, and then there's another set built on the other side to mirror the one that we see, and Schwarzenegger standing there. And then we see John Connor's face in the foreground, and then the back of his stunt double in the mirror. And then we see Linda Hamilton in the foreground and her twin sister in the background. And in one shot, the camera pulls in and then looks down the port in the head of the Terminator where the CPU is, and that's like a 3 or 4 inch shaft. And it's a very beautiful shot. And you think it's CGI, and you think, what the F? We're just looking down Schwarzenegger's head, but it's all done practically. And they pull out the CPU, and in this moment, John Connor and Sarah Connor have a discussion on whether they should destroy the Terminator, because they just took this massive killing machine and reduced it to a piece that they can smash with a ball-bean hammer and destroy. This indestructible machine is now literally in their hands. And I think it's those kind of things, and some of them got onto the cutting room floor, some of them didn't. There are scenes of Robert Patrick when he's looking down the fat security guard's face, and he just pokes him right in the eye with his finger.
I've seen that. That was in the original cut.
That one's in the original cut. Yeah, that's the parts that I'm about to talk about are in the original cut. There's that one. There's the one where he goes to the Voight's house and he's trying to find John Connor, and he's all like, there's nothing wrong. We just want to talk to the boy, kind of a saying. He's wearing this LAPD uniform and the mystique that the LAPD have, but yet he's likable, which is kind of scary because that is kind of like a serial killer. Serial killers people always say they're very charismatic, they're very nice guys. It's the last guy you'd expect to be a mass murderer, and that's what this thing is. This is a mass murderer on a almost global scale.
Again, that was what I was talking about earlier when I said Robert Patrick as opposed to Henriksen was great. There was always something slightly off with his humanness and friendliness in T2.
Yeah, he definitely had he had a misunderstanding of the human nature, and just like a serial killer, he will always be a little off. You'll look at that guy and be like, he's just not right.
Inauthentic, slightly inauthentic. I mean, still enough to get by, but
yeah,
something just shy of being actually human. Like he has the basic concept, just not the full breadth of it.
Yeah, but also those are the things that are the horror element. When Robert Patrick is running down the car, when Robert Patrick is running down John Connor on his motorcycle, when he gets into that tow truck and just throws the guy out, not even saying a word.
Again, those parts to me, either those parts that actually involve Robert Patrick as not searching but actually as a combatant, are one of two things. Either they were action scenes, or they were scenes where you went, look at that CGI, look at how they do it. This is 1992, by the way. That blew people's minds.
I know, and it's still revered as some of the best CGI. And people look at the Terminator trailers and think, why does the Terminator in the new one look worse than the Robert Patrick Terminator in 1994? Terminator 2 Judgment Day and Jurassic Park are always cited as having some of the best CGI to date.
I will agree with the Jurassic Park one, not so much the Terminator one. But it did blow people's mind back in 92.
It did blow people's minds, and for what it was he was liquid metal, so the fact that he was chrome and shiny worked to their advantage.
Right.
Otherwise, if like when you see that in Lawnmower Man, it looks really out of place and really dumb. But when you see it in Terminator, you believe it because he's liquid metal.
Right.
But it's those scenes that you call action scenes that are the more scary ones, because this is a relentless machine that's coming at you. There's nothing you can do to stop it, and it's till the very end when they freeze it and break it apart is when it finally starts to break down. Until then, and until you see it physically starting to be affected by its environment, this thing is always coming at you. And take Schwarzenegger, which in the first movie was the end all be all of Terminators. That was the most advanced killing machine we've ever seen, and it took them forever to take care of it. And now all of a sudden there's another machine that has come into the picture that kicks the ass of Arnold Schwarzenegger. That whole fight in the the smelting plant is amazing and is frightening, because with no emotion, with no prejudice, he just thoroughly trashes Arnold Schwarzenegger's character, and then when he thinks he's put him down, moves on to John Connor.
See, I disagree. In T2, both movies basically end the same, in kind of sort of the same way.
Yeah.
Enter a large building, manufacturing plant, whatever,
Mhm.
and then have an actual fight. The first one, it was an actual like serial killer chasing a woman through a large open area. The second one, it was a fight between two machines. It was a mech battle. It was it was an action scene, plus with a little elements of that scene was romanticized to some extent, because you're watching him beat your hero just like literally being torn apart as this is happening, and he's still trying to emotionlessly, but still trying to make his way to the rescue.
Yeah, but that's why it's scary, because we needed that ultimate killing machine to try to stop the more ultimate killing machine. If it was just up to Sarah and John, they would be dead within the first 10 minutes.
I got sad more than I got scared watching that fight. Oh, and if I could boil down what's missing in the second one, what makes it an action movie instead of a horror movie, what's missing is there's no 80s nightclub. Where's that scene where it's just beautiful tension, beautiful buildup, where Schwarzenegger in the first one walks into that club and is looking for Sarah Connor, and he's just walking through the crowd, just looking, scanning back and forth. She's walking around, and she's and he doesn't quite catch her. He knows what she looks like now.
Yeah. That's the mall scene at the beginning.
No, that was the mall scene at the beginning of
Terminator 2. That's where that nightclub scene is.
You know what I think of when I think of that scene in Terminator 2? I think of cool boxing robots. What are those battle robots? That
Rock'em
game.
Sock'em?
Yeah, Rock'em Sock'em is about to happen, because they're both in there, and I'm like going, cool, this is about to go down.
Yeah, like but if you didn't know the advertisement, you would think Robert Patrick was the good guy and Schwarzenegger was the bad guy.
And that's exactly what I thought. I thought, okay, they're gonna meet each other, and they're about to have, like, you knew a fight was about to happen.
Right.
Not a death, a fight.
Yeah, but it would be the same fight that would be in, the Tech Noir, the nightclub in the first one. Because you're not going to put, that ultimate killing machine down permanently. You're just going to wound it enough to get away. And that's what you think is going to happen in the mall. And it's only when Arnold Schwarzenegger tells John Connor to get down and the fight ensues, that's when the tension is broken. It's kind of like when Kyle starts pushing people out of the way and then takes his first shot at the Terminator and blowing it back and screwing up his aim from Connor.
I didn't get tension or build up from that. I just kind of got like point A to point B's. Like let's pick a place to fight. It was what I was getting. Maybe. Mario, you've been quiet over there for a while. What do you think?
Mario thinks you've been desensitized by action films.
And you're right, I have.
But yeah, Mario, are you still around?
No, I'm still here.
Okay.
Honestly, I have the culmination of both of your guys. Because, yes, it is this giant, spectacle of a movie. The second one I'm talking about, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. Yes, it is a giant spectacle that, these two robots came together to fight, and it just happened to be in a smelting plant. I mean, Alex, when we were taking writing classes, we were told you get one coincidence per script.
Yes, one writer's contrivance.
Yes.
Yes.
That was the one, which is absolutely perfect.
The late night smelting factory.
Yeah, exactly. That just so happens to be open at that point in time, and no security guards for something that dangerous.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, I'm sorry. I'm gonna go back to the CGI stuff. So I actually, funny enough, went across this or found this YouTube video that is talking about the Weta special effects from the 90s and how they're compared to nowadays.
Hmm.
It's like a 4-minute video. I'll send it to you guys right now.
Right on.
Boop, just sent it. Skype. Um, it's a great video. I mean, it really opened up my eyes as to, well, it solidified things for me more than anything else. I've already known why it's been so shitty nowadays, and it's because we're going for too much of a realism.
Hmm.
You know, you look at video games nowadays, and yes, you know, the new fucking Call of Duty, I don't care, is in 60 frames a second, and it's at 1080p or 4K for some video games. They're trying to stream in 4K, and yes, they look amazing, but they look too real. You know, you pass the surrealism with them. Whereas back in the day, they were going for realism, and you know, a lot of times, like this goes back to like Alien and Aliens, Predator, and all that stuff. They use miniatures, but they understood the pros and cons of miniatures, and this goes back to CGI as well. You know, they understood why CGI was needed, and you know how to enhance certain things with CGI. Oh, we need this giant alien to enter the room, look left, look right, and then attack. Fuck, it's too small, or the room is too small. We can't have his tail the way we need it to. Okay, so we'll add the tail in post. No big deal. But the prop guys and everybody else is, or the special effects guys have built a giant alien, or you know they built the ray gun or whatever the fuck it is, to make it seem more realistic. And that's why I'm gonna agree with Jamal saying like the first Terminator was fucking terrifying. It wasn't like Jaws terrifying, but I mean you had suspense whenever you saw the Terminator come into the screen because you're like, oh shit, this muscle bound dude's about to waste somebody.
Yeah.
And you're legitimately worried the entire time. Whereas in the second one, yes, it's a bit more of a spectacle type movie, but it's also, you know, it goes into that whole storyline saying, you know, this is now the storyline of this universe, and that's it, kind of thing. Sorry, I've been eating nuts over here.
Yeah.
I don't. I haven't eaten dinner yet. I just had some almonds. Anyway, so you have these, and they are two different movies, but with the same plot point to it, which is the survival of the human race.
Two different genres, though.
No, 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 not two different genres. Two different. It's two different movies
Mm-hmm.
at the same, going toward the same plot. You see what I'm trying to say?
Hmm.
So it's
Yeah.
you do have this intense, you know, very dreary, you know, almost noir, not noir, but like neo noir style, um, movie, you know, the Terminator, where the smallest little thing could interrupt this guy saving this woman. You know, even the cops trying to put him away could have stopped the entire thing right then and there. You know, Sarah would have died. However, you know, the Terminator being who he is, found her, blah blah blah, cops, all that fun stuff. We've seen the movie. So it continues. The second one continues the storyline, which is all it really is, and it's because of what happened in the first story that I think it adds so well to the second one. Because the Terminator is no longer this. He's no longer, you know, the beta version, which is, you know, or technically he's the alpha version, which is, you know, the Terminator's fucking Schwarzenegger. God damn, I couldn't think of his name. You know, he was the alpha robot. He was the first
Yeah.
style that had the genetic makeup to be able to make it to the past to try to kill somebody.
Right.
And then the beta version came out, which was fucking
Robert Patrick.
Robert Patrick. I wanted to say Patrick Stewart.
I want to say that all the time too. Yes.
I always want to say Patrick Warburton when I think of him for some reason.
Oh my God, he would be the worst Terminator.
Oh my God. Fuck it. You know, they really should have gotten what was that movie? Sleepy Hollow?
Walken?
Walken.
Yeah.
God, Walken would have been fucking hilarious as a Terminator.
Yeah. Come with me if you want to live.
That would be the ultimate right there.
Dude, I would go broke watching that movie. Fucking give me another ticket. I don't care. but you know, so it's this. It was a perfect continuation of the Terminator storyline, because Terminator is now he's a protector, is what he is now, and like Alex was saying, you know, he's here to, or he's built in from John's memory of what the robot was and is and everything like that, and that's him. You know, that's the Terminator. He was this Billy badass who fucking took 5 shotgun shells to the body and still got up and just murdered that one chick. Like, just when he pulled out that Uzi, just obliterated that one chick. But then you get someone like the T-1000, which was a better learning robot. You know, he still had the same functionality as Terminator. Can still impersonate the voices, but now he's more personable, almost like a Jake Gyllenhaal in fuck me, that movie that Gyllenhaal just came out with, Night Stalker. Have you guys seen that one yet?
No.
Not
Oh, fucking check it out. It is really goddamn good.
I've started it a couple times, but for some reason have had to stop.
Really? Oh man, dude. Honestly, take time.
I think that reason they call that reason Jake Gyllenhaal. Yeah, I'm not a big Gyllenhaal guy.
Honestly, he did a great job in this film.
Yeah, I hear that.
I completely forgave him as an actor, because I'm not a big fan of Gyllenhaal. Sorry, I was trying to find the IMDb page, and it brought up the Lou Diamond Phillips Night Stalker page. I was like,
Lou Diamond Phillips, on the other hand.
Yeah, right.
Is it Night Stalker or Night Crawler?
Night Stalker.
I think it's Night Crawler.
Well, they're trying to do it looks like they're trying to do a movie with Lou Diamond Phillips as fucking Richard Ramirez.
Okay.
As a Night Stalker. Is that racial profiling?
Was the original Night Stalker half Mexican, half Indian?
A little bit, because he's more than just those two. I mean, he's a bunch of things rolled together.
Yeah. So I was like, is he fucking...
Yeah, but they do that with Lou Diamond Phillips. He's always the Indian or the Mexican.
That's true.
He's actually also sort of Hawaiian and Asian, I believe.
Is he?
Yeah.
Well, in that case, what the fuck is a rock? I'm sorry, Nightcrawler. That's what I was thinking of. Fucking Night Stalker.
That's close.
What'd you say, The Rock? Like Dwayne Johnson?
Yeah, what is he? Is he like some sort of Hawaiian or something?
Half African American, half Samoan. African Canadian, I'm sorry.
Cool. My questions have been answered. Man, I was saying stuff, but I just
I think it's a good point there to stop. For those of you who want to learn more about the makers, go over to mof.ninja and you can see the About Us section, or you can see the list of films that Mario has watched while high. And soon there will be lists of movies that are recommended by us, or movies that we like, or movies that we don't like. We'll just have to work on those later.
So, guys, I was thinking what we could watch next week.
It is your turn, isn't it, Mario?
No, it's Jamal's turn.
Is it Jamal's
my turn?
Yeah.
Oh, no, we did skip Jamal, didn't we?
Yeah. No.
I thought it was your turn, Alex.
Yeah, no, it's Alex, because I did Terminator.
You did Terminator, but
and I did Dirty Harry. Oh, well,
Yeah.
that was by commit. No,
That was
we
by
already had.
committee that you said. So do you want to do one, or do you not care?
Go for it.
Okay. Well, what's your suggestion, Mario?
For fucking just go to Jamal.
No, he said to me. So
All right. Here, we were talking earlier about the TV series
okay.
Yeah.
Daredevil.
All right.
All right. Yeah, sure. I'll finish that
Do
up.
you want to do like the entire first season?
Yeah,
Yeah.
All right. Cool. I'll start watching that this week.
All right.
there you go.
That works. And you guys want to hear about the stats from the show?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I guess Monday they announced the name of the new Star Trek movie.
Did they?
Yeah.
Wait, yesterday, Monday?
I guess, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So yesterday.
So yesterday, yeah, Justin Lin tweeted. What did he tweet? I got it right here. Let the next Starfleet voyage begin. Hashtag Star Trek Beyond. Hashtag LLAP. So it's Star Trek Beyond.
What's LLAP mean?
Live long and prosper.
Ah, like it. There's a hashtag I can get behind.
Yeah, because they're kind of trying to honor the late Leonard Nimoy.
Yeah.
Awesomeness.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, there's that, and also for those people who keep up with celebrity gossip,
No, don't say it.
Ben Affleck and Jennifer Gardner have split.
I know.
Are you sad about that?
Well, no, I'm sad about the people are still getting divorced. One of the plus sides of the gay marriage ruling is it's a very American way of fixing a problem, because 50% of all marriages end in divorce. How does America fix it? Let's throw more marriages at it, and it'll make that number go down.
Well, it will, because the gay people have fought so hard for the right to marry that
gay people.
they are not going to get divorced. They are going to be so adamant about being married and staying married just to shove it in the nose of all the straight people that the first generation.
I don't know about you, but I am very excited for gay divorce court.
Now that you put that up there, yes.
I am very excited. You know, it's just going to be so goddamn catty, and just it's going to be so much fun. And then like women are going to realize how bad women are when they're like trying to go for the divorce and everything. Oh, I can't wait to watch that and see how the world realizes how bitchy women actually are. Not all women.
I'm actually waiting for the first comedian that brings up the fact that, now that they get married, a bunch of the straight men are they're still men. We're commitment phobes, so that excuse is out the window.
Uh-huh.
Yay, we can get married. Awesome. Like, what's Pitt gonna say now? Well, yeah, they weren't going to get married until every American could get married.
Yeah.
What's Pitt's answer now?
Well, either it's going to be yes, or it's going to be I don't really love you.
Yeah.
I'm breaking up with you.
You were just hot back then. You were.
I think
you were hot as Tomb Raider. That's about it. By the way, I rewatched Tomb Raider like a couple weeks ago. Holy shit, that movie sucks.
Yeah.
You're just getting that now?
No, like I saw it as a kid, and I'm like, oh, it's a fun movie. Hot chick doing all these flips. There's gunshots. I rewatched it. I'm like, wow, 12-year-old me was a goddamn idiot.
Again.
Well, 12-year-old you didn't go through, filmmaking classes, so.
That's true.
That kind of taints you a little bit.
Taint. Again, I have no problem with those movies now. Like, I used to have a problem with them until I kind of came around to the idea that I just I know what I'm getting myself into. Just give me a good action movie. When I look at those movies now, I'm more or less just judging them on how cool, like, the guns are and how well the effects are done. That's it. Like, I completely zone out when they're just talking to each other, so I have no idea what half the plot is. I'm just waiting for the next thing to go boom.
Okay. So, do you guys want to hear the stats of the show?
Oh, like you promised us like 12 minutes ago?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay, go on.
Did we get sidetracked on?
I don't remember.
I told you about the
Star Trek.
Star Trek, that's what it was, yeah.
Okay. So, let's see. Let me get back to it. Hold on a second. All right, so the show that I put up yesterday, the Dirty Harry episode, has 61 listens. Our highest listened to show so far is going to be the Oscar runner-up show at 131.
Oh,
Wasn't that like second the last time we checked?
It might have been, yeah.
Oh, nice. They're not just listening, they're actually going back and reviewing other shows. That's great. Awesome. Thank you guys.
We have 1,100 people or 1,100 listens to the show, 1,150.
Nice.
Yeah. And out of that, the Islamic Republic of Iran has moved up to the first foreign country that listens to us the most, putting Germany back into second place.
That's because we spent all of last week telling the folks at in the Islamic Iran that we love them so much and thank you for visiting us at mof.ninja.
Now, knowing the Germans the way I do, they're not going to stand for this.
hey, Alex.
Yes.
I'm on our website, mof.ninja, which everybody can go to and
Yes.
listen to us being assholes. But I'm on here right now for the last week's episode.
Mhm.
Or no, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, last week's episode. So I see you have Dirty Harry.
Mm-hmm.
You have Save the Cat. You have Outland. You have the Deadpool. Also, Brotherhood of the Wolf. What the fuck is that? When did we talk about that?
Oh, we talked during Outland, I think it was, with Heather. We talked about the Silent Hill movies.
Oh, that's right.
And
Okay.
and Brotherhood of the Wolf and the Deathstalker or something.
Yeah, but
Deathwatch.
we have monsters. We have Deathwatch. You have the wrong enforcer on here, dude.
I have the one that you were supposed to watch.
Right.
Yeah.
And the one that I did watch was not the Clint Eastwood. So honestly, you're misinforming our viewers, buddy.
Well, I will go ahead and on the Dirty Harry one, I will put both enforcers on there. How about that?
Wait, Jamal, your last name is like actually Alexander?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Is your name's Jamal? Is that with 3 A's or only 2?
It's actually with 3, but I've lost track of how many things I do with 3 and 2 that
Yeah, because you sent me your bio with only 2, and I'm like,
it's fine. I go by both.
I changed it to 3.
By the way, you guys were going to talk about equipment at some point.
No, that was Mario's job, and apparently
I saw the
never
thing
done.
you were talking.
I can do that whenever need be.
I saw the YouTube for the thing you were talking about, the camera that follows you. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that thing is cool as shit.
I know, right? I forget what it's called though.
Oh god damn it! It's like
It's got some sort of cutesy name to it.
Yeah,
it's got
it's
like
a weird
cute
name,
little
yeah.
name to it.
I know. Well, maybe you can look into that for the next show. All right. So, on behalf of Jamal Alexander and Mario I. Silvas, thank you for joining us. You have a good night.
I love most of you.
Thank you. Have a
You're
Have
don't
a
even try.
wonderful
You're
night.
just dumb. Just fucking quit it.
I am totally just going to edit that part out anyway, so it doesn't matter.
No, leave it in. Leave it in. Fucking, I want people to hear that.
I'm fat.
Join the makers each week as they discuss film, TV, and pop culture. To learn more about them, go to mof.ninja. This is John Cleese saying goodbye.